I want to tell you about a phenomenon that nobody in personal finance talks about. It happens to people who did everything right. People who grounded out, made the sacrifices, cut the dining out, took the side jobs, made the extra payments. And one day, they make the final payment. The debt is gone. And then something unexpected happens. Not immediately. Not that day. But within 90 to 180 days of becoming debt-free, a significant portion of people, research suggests as many as 1 in 3, find themselves carrying new debt. Different debt, different lender, same trap. Not because they're irresponsible. Not because they didn't try hard enough. Because they paid off the debt. But they never changed the system that created it. Here's what nobody told you. Paying off debt isn't the finish line. It's the starting line. And if you don't know what to do the moment you cross it, you will drift. The math will stop working for you. And the life you sacrificed years to build will quietly slip back to where it started. This video is about what actually changes when debt disappears and what you have to consciously do next, or risk losing everything you just built. Let's start with what you've probably been told. Dave Ramsey's baby steps are the most widely followed debt payoff framework in America. Hundreds of thousands of people have used them, and they work to a point. The steps go like this. Build a $1,000 starter emergency fund. Pay off all debt using the debt snowball. Build a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. Then invest 15% of your income. Then save for kids' college. Then pay off the house early. Then build wealth and give. It's a solid framework. The snowball method works psychologically. The sequence makes emotional sense. But here's the critical gap that almost nobody talks about. And it's the gap where most people fall. Steps 1 through 3 tell you exactly what to do. The instructions are granular. You have a specific dollar target, a specific method, a specific order. Step 4 just says, invest 15% of your household income into retirement. That's it. No specifics on where to invest. No framework for how to think about the freed up cash flow beyond that 15%. No guidance on the identity crisis that happens when the thing you've been fighting for years on debt suddenly doesn't exist anymore. And that ambiguity is expensive because most people, when they reach the top of the steps they were given directions for, don't seamlessly transition into wealth builders. They pause. And in personal finance, a pause is almost never neutral. It almost always costs money. A Federal Reserve study found that the median American household savings rate doesn't meaningfully increase after paying off consumer debt. In most cases, it stays flat for 12 to 18 months. Where does the money go? We'll get to that in a moment. First, let's understand what's actually happening in the math, because the numbers are more startling than most people realise. Let me show you exactly what paying off debt does to your financial life. In numbers, we'll model a person I'll call Sam. Sam is 34 years old. He has just made his final payment on $28,000 in combined debt. $11,500 in credit card balances at an 18.9% APR and $16,500 in auto loan debt at 6.4% APR. Before the payoff, Sam was making $620 per month in minimum and accelerated payments. $620 every single month for years. On the day Sam makes his final payment, something mathematically extraordinary happens. He gains $620 per month in liquid cash flow, not income, not a raise, pure freed cash flow. Now let's run 3 scenarios for what Sam does with that $620. This is where the math gets brutal in its honesty. Scenario A, the lifestyle inflation trap. Sam doesn't make a conscious decision about the $620. He just lives normally. He upgrades to a slightly nicer apartment, $200 more per month. He starts eating out a bit more. He deserves it after years of sacrifice, $180 per month. He upgrades his phone plan and adds a gym membership, $80 per month. Small Amazon purchases fill the rest. Within 90 days, $620 of freed cash flow has been absorbed by the environment. The money is spent, but Sam doesn't feel richer. He just feels normal. That opportunity cost isn't hypothetical. It's the compound value of $620 per month invested at an 8% average market return over 20 years. The number is $366,048 to be exact. Sam didn't lose $366,000. He never saw $366,000. But it was available to him, and he let it evaporate into subscriptions and restaurant tabs, $17 at a time. Scenario B, the half-committed redirect. Sam decides to be smart. He invests some of the freed cash flow, $300 per month, into his employer 401k, which he didn't have set up before. The other $320 goes to general improved quality of life. He feels responsible. After 20 years, Sam's $300 per month investment, at 8% compounded, is worth $176,942. That's real. That's meaningful. Sam is better off than in scenario A. But compared to the full redirect, he's left $189,000 on the table. And here's the psychological trap inside scenario B, because Sam feels like he's doing the right thing by investing something. He never runs the numbers on what the other half is doing. The partial commitment creates the illusion of full optimization. It's the most dangerous scenario of the three, not because the outcome is worse, but because the satisfaction feels complete when the math is only half finished. Scenario C, the full redirect. Sam treats the $620 exactly the way he treated his debt payment, as a fixed, non-negotiable monthly obligation. Except now the obligation is to his future self instead of to a creditor. He sets up an automatic transfer on the day his final debt payment clears. The $620 moves to a diversified investment account, split between his 401k to capture his employer's 3% match, and a Roth IRA for tax-advantaged growth. After 20 years, $366,048. After 30 years, because Sam keeps this habit as his income grows, $935,127. Now here's the element most people miss entirely, the interest rate arbitrage. When Sam was paying 18.9% interest on his credit card, every dollar he held in savings, instead of paying down that debt, was effectively costing him 18.9% in guaranteed negative return. Paying off that debt first was mathematically correct. The guaranteed 18.9% return on debt elimination beat the probabilistic 8 to 10% market return. But the moment that debt is gone, the equation flips completely. Now the mathematical priority inverts. Cash that was being used to defeat a guaranteed 18.9% liability is now most productively deployed, chasing an 8 to 10% compound gain. The tool that was right for the first phase, aggressive debt payoff, is the wrong tool for the second phase. And this is where conventional wisdom, even well-intentioned conventional wisdom, leaves you stranded, because it gives you the discipline to fight the first battle, but doesn't hand you the new weapon for the second. The math demands a mode switch. Most people never make it. Let's talk about why. Here's the part that the spreadsheet can't capture, but that determines everything the spreadsheet predicts. When Sam made his final debt payment, something happened in his brain that had nothing to do with money. The identity crisis of debt freedom. For the last 3, 5, maybe 10 years, Sam had an identity. He was paying off debt. That was his financial identity. Every financial decision flowed through a single filter. Does this help me get out of debt faster or not? It was exhausting. But it was also simple, clarifying. He knew exactly who he was in the context of money. The day the debt clears, that identity evaporates. And nature, psychological nature, abhors a vacuum. Research on goal completion from Dr. Eilert Fishbach at the University of Chicago found that people who fully achieve a difficult goal often experience a measurable decrease in motivation and directed behavior in the weeks immediately following completion. The goal had been providing psychological structure. Without it, the scaffolding comes down and the building wobbles. This is why so many people pause at the top of the baby step staircase. Not because they're lazy, because they haven't built the next identity yet. And the most dangerous thing that can happen in a psychological vacuum is an old habit filling the space. The "I deserve this" trap. After years of restraint, the brain has a powerful, legitimate response to freedom. I sacrificed. I worked hard. I'm allowed to enjoy myself now. This isn't weakness, it's biology. The limbic system, the brain's reward center, has been running on delayed gratification for years. The moment the deferral ends, it wants its payment. And it will justify almost any purchase as a reasonable reward. The critical miscalculation is this: your brain treats becoming debt-free as the destination. But your financial reality treats it as a checkpoint. The rewards your brain demands are real spending with real opportunity costs. But they feel like closing costs on the old chapter rather than the opening costs of a new one. The generational script: why we weren't taught what comes next. There's a generational dimension to this that goes deeper than individual psychology. Most of us grew up watching our parents and their parents treat debt payoff as a terminal goal, not a transitional one. In the post-war economy of the 1950s and 60s, paying off the mortgage was the wealth strategy. Real estate appreciated, pensions were guaranteed, inflation was manageable. Being debt-free in 1965 meant you had arrived. That framework is now at least 50 years out of date. Pensions are gone for most workers. Real estate appreciation is concentrated in specific markets. Healthcare costs in retirement can exceed $300,000 per couple. The math of debt-free equals secure no longer closes the loop. But here's what we inherited: the emotional template of debt payoff as the finish line. Nobody taught us the second chapter, because for our grandparents' generation, there wasn't a second chapter to teach. You paid off the house, you retired on the pension. That was it. We are running their playbook in a financial environment that has changed beyond recognition. The result is that most people reach debt freedom with enormous emotional resources, discipline, sacrifice capacity, delayed gratification muscles, and then stop using those muscles because nobody told them what to exercise next. So here is what the math and the psychology tell us in plain terms. The day after your final debt payment is the most important financial day of your life. Not because something magical happens, but because you have a choice that will compound for decades in one direction or the other. Here's the three-part framework the data supports. Part 1. Pre-wire the redirect before the payoff clears. Don't wait until the debt is gone to decide what to do with the freed cash flow. Set up the automatic investment transfer the month before your final payment posts. When the debt payment disappears, the investment transfer is already in motion. You never experience the cash as available. This eliminates the psychological window where the "I deserve it" brain operates. Part 2. Rename the identity before you need it. You spent years being someone who pays off debt. You need a replacement identity before the old one disappears, not after. The evidence on goal achievement and sustained motivation shows that people who predefine their next identity maintain behavioral continuity across major milestones. In practical terms, before the final debt payment clears, write down, physically, the sentence, "I am someone who builds wealth." Say it out loud. Attach it to a specific behavior. "I am someone who invests $620 every month automatically." The specificity of the identity matters more than the emotion attached to it. Part 3. Run the 20-year math on your specific freed cash flow. Not Sam's numbers, yours. Take your actual monthly debt payment total. Open a compound interest calculator. Enter that number as a monthly investment at 8% over 20 years. Read the result. That number, whatever it is the precise cost of defaulting to lifestyle inflation. It's not abstract. It's not thousands of dollars. It's a specific figure with your name on it. When the "I deserve it" brain shows up, and it will, you have a number to negotiate with. Paying off debt is extraordinary. It takes everything most people don't have: patience, sacrifice, consistency across years. You did something genuinely hard. But the bank doesn't give you a trophy. The market doesn't pause while you celebrate. The compounding doesn't wait. The people who transform debt payoff into lasting wealth aren't those who work the hardest to get out of debt. They're the ones who immediately redirected that same energy, without skipping a beat, into the next chapter. The debt is gone. The discipline isn't. Use it.